Yeah, I bought my baby a diamond ring. Come back home, by shaking that thing. Why don't you shake that thing? Why don't you shake that thing? Well, I'm getting tired of telling you, shake that thing. Down in Georgia, got a dance that's new. It ain't nothing, it's easy to do. They call it shake that thing. Yeah, shake that thing. Well, I'm getting tired of telling you, shake that thing. Ain't no chalk, no pigeon wing. If you do is shake that thing. Why don't you shake that thing? Why don't you shake that thing? Yeah, I'm getting kinda tired of telling you, shake that thing. Old folks like it, young folks too. Nothing, it's easy to do. Why don't you shake that thing? Yeah, shake that thing. Well, I'm getting kinda tired of telling you, shake that thing. Get back, children, and Dinah too. Let the men show you how to do and shake that thing. Yeah, why don't you shake that thing? Well, I'm getting kinda tired of telling you, shake that thing. Walk downtown, I stumbled and fell. Mouth there open like a country well. Why don't you shake that thing? Why don't you shake that thing? Well, I'm getting tired of telling you, shake that thing. All right. Simple little tune. I've been digging into a lot of the kind of the roots of Mississippi John Hurt's music. You know, I'm a huge John Hurt fan, and he seems, John Hurt started recording in the 20s, and he was really a very contemporary guitar player. Uh, I mean, he would have been one of the biggest stars of the 20s. Had probably not the Great Depression kind of, moved his music out and he had to go back to the farm. But he definitely, of course, became a huge star in the 50s and 60s when he was rediscovered, really more of the 60s, I guess. He seems to have been influenced by primarily, I'm going to say, two blues guitars. The first being Papa Charlie Jackson, and this is a Papa Charlie song, okay? This is probably the first major hit by a solo guitar blues picker. Before then, you had Bessie Smith and you had, Victoria Spivey and different singers that would be backed up by a band. Of course, Louis Armstrong played with some of that. It's like really good stuff, right? The other would be Charlie Poole, and Charlie Poole is sort of considered the father of Delta blues guitar. He and Willie Brown were sort of the center of that group around guys like, around which I should say, guys like Son House and Robert Johnson and Howlin' Wolf played. I mean, they were like the mentors to the next generation that became huge stars, especially Robert Johnson and Howlin' Wolf. But I mean, if you haven't listened to some Son House, you really need to get in on that. And Mississippi Fred McDowell and Booker White and all those guys. But that all starts with Charlie Poole. And Charlie Poole was a very sophisticated finger style picker, thumb picker, but nothing compared to Willie Brown. Now, if I had to say, Mississippi John Hurt's style was probably more influenced by Willie Brown than Charlie Poole, because Willie Brown was a very sprightly way of playing and a little bit smoother. But you also can't forget Sylvester Weaver. Now, Sylvester Weaver recorded really the first solo blues guitar album, and it became a huge hit. It was called Guitar Rag, and eventually became Steel Guitar Rag for Bob Wills, one of the most influential songs ever recorded. But both Sylvester Weaver and Papa Charlie Jackson, and really at this point, Charlie Poole, have pretty much been forgotten, and that's a real shame. This was a massive hit. Papa Charlie played a six-string banjo, which was essentially a guitar with the body of a banjo. This was he was from New Orleans, apparently somewhere around New Orleans. This is going back, people born in the 1880s, especially black folks, didn't have a lot of really good records being kept. And the six-string banjo was really popular in New Orleans and that area, sort of the Gulf, because of course jazz was being invented. And you listen to Johnny St. Cyr. He was the guitar slash banjo player for oh gosh, well, Louis Armstrong, for one thing. In the Hot Fives and Sevens, he always had Johnny St. Cyr, but of course he had played with him before in King Oliver's band. The reason they played a banjo as opposed to a wooden guitar, flat top or an arch top, was because they had to be heard over all the horns. And especially that was true when it came to recording. A banjo cuts through better than a guitar. You could not hear a guitar in an early recording, a recording from the 1920s. Nick Lucas played the first two guitar instrumentals. I love Nick Lucas, huge fan of Nick Lucas. Another one of those guys that's unfortunately been kind of forgotten. Snoozer Quinn would be in that category, Eddie Lang, but they literally, the whole band had to sit behind them, and they had this like big recording horn, like a Victrola. It was just literally a cone, right? And this was completely analog. And they put the guitar right up under the cone. That's the only way you could hear it. But if you had a banjo, you could cut through, whether it was in a live recording or an album. So most of the guitar players, if not really all of the guitar players of the 1920s really played more banjo than anything else, even Eddie Lang. And when Eddie Lang did play guitar, and Lonnie Johnson would be the same case. When Eddie Lang and Lonnie Johnson played guitar, they had these, giant, to our way of thinking. I mean, not as big as a Stromberg, but I mean these old Gibsons with an arch top, and in action the strings were like that high off the fretboard, and they had to get right up there, and they had to play with this. A lot of times it doesn't sound real smooth because they had to put so much force on the strings. So Papa Charlie, very understandably, played a six-string banjo. And he had played with all those New Orleans bands. I mean, he had played very likely with Louis Armstrong because in some of his songs, Johnny Dodds, Louis Armstrong's clarinet player, played with Papa Charlie Jackson. And Papa Charlie was like the Elvis Presley of his day. I mean, John Hurt was also influenced by Jimmy Rogers and the Carter family and old time and the Mississippi Sheiks. But he cut two or three, or really he did these more live in festivals. I don't think he ever did shake that thing on a studio album. But it was one of his favorites to play. And I mean, like 1924, this was like, I mean, comparable to, I don't know, the Beatles in the 60s. It was so popular. Everybody loved Papa Charlie Jackson. And now, who's ever heard of Papa Charlie Jackson? See, that's not right. We got to remember the people who did it first. If a tree doesn't have roots, it won't grow good branches. And it won't get very tall either. So let's get into this. It's in G, and it's super simple. It's really just one chord with a variation that implies a C or a D. But we're going to go, all right, so that's the central note right there. But we're not going to start there. We're going to start on the D. E, F, E, D, E, F, E, D, E, F, E, G, E, B. All right, simple, super simple. All right, that's the hook. That's what's going to get you. So keep your finger on the sixth string, third fret. Take your middle finger and put it on the E note. So you're now implying a C. Essentially, this is a C. The chord of C is C, E, G. We're not playing the C. We're just playing the G and the C. All right. So just drop your pinky down on the third string, third fret. So we've got that kind of weird C chord going there. Now drop that down. And we're alternating. Unfortunately, this song had a lot of kind of risque verses. We don't have those on record because they would have been censored. Even this was really the pre-censorship era, but still they weren't going to record some of the bawdier versions that people would do at house parties and such. So let's just go through it one time. Again, super simple. Bought my baby a diamond ring. Come back home, find her shaking that thing. Won't shake that thing. Why don't you shake that thing? Well, I'm getting kind of tired of telling you shake that thing. Super easy. Definitely one to learn because it's fun, and you can play that. I mean, it's just easy, and it sounds good. And if people know, if you're, you don't have to be a blues scholar actually to be familiar with this tune because. My favorite show growing up was Sanford and Son. My grandfather loved Sanford and Son. I love Sanford and Son. I mean, Red Fox was hilarious. You big dummy. You got a face like a water buffalo. Love Red Fox, right? They actually did a whole episode about this song. They came up with a fictional blues musician named, I think it was Blind Mellow Jelly. Okay. Mix of all these, different names. Blind Lemon Jefferson, Blind Mellow Jelly. And Fred had these old 78s that were like super valuable and collectible, and he would put on once a year, Shake That Thing. And he actually did a couple of like the more risque verses on the show. And of course, if you know anything about Red Fox, he could be downright dirty. So the best way to see him, the best way to appreciate his humor was Sanford and Son. I'll give you a little anecdote here, and then we'll close it out. Red Fox, the comedian, actually grew up with Malcolm X. They were like best friends. They went to high school together. Malcolm X, of course, became a radical communist political figure who was assassinated. Kind of his politics were under the guise of civil rights. He was essentially a black nationalist, okay? And he was hated. And, well, why wouldn't you hate somebody that was always trying to divide people? Not get along, but, militant. Right, there's a big difference there. There's a big difference between civil rights and militancy. And I mean, you can go back to Black Lives Matter and all that, and the riots in the street and burning everything down and the mostly peaceful protests. You understand there is a difference between Black Lives Matter and burn everything down. And Malcolm X was more on the side of burn everything down. Red Fox was hilarious. He was a comedian. He was a singer. He was dirty. He was not for prime time until he did Sanford and Son. But think about the difference. My grandfather was born, I guess around 1920, 1923, somewhere like that, in the rural South. He absolutely loved Red Fox. He absolutely loved Sanford and Son. He didn't listen to the Red Fox albums. He probably would have been quite offended. He, in Sanford and Son, saw black people and white people identically. No difference between us. Rural white people and rural black people are the same. Red Fox did more for the cause of civil rights, for equality among the races, as a comedian than Malcolm X ever did as an activist. Remember that. Always remember, music brings us together. Food brings us together probably more than anything because we all got to eat. And having a good sense of humor, laughing. Goes a lot further, a lot more towards the goal of getting along and everybody being equal and the same than militancy and being a jerk. Because Malcolm X was really a jerk. I mean, he was. He was not a nice guy. So let's do this again. All right, y'all, have fun with that one. And be sure to get in touch if you got any questions. I'll run you through this one in 30 seconds. I mean, it's one of the easiest songs I know. But yeah, Papa Charlie Jackson, do check him out. He was really fun. He obviously played in all those jazz bands of the 20s. He also brought forward, and one of the reasons he was so popular was he played in a lot of minstrel shows and vaudeville. And they had what they called hokum songs, which were oftentimes a little risque, but they were jokes. The songs were all funny. And Papa Charlie recorded several of those, and really deserves to be remembered. And if you ever get a chance to pick up a good banjo guitar, be sure to. He played a Gibson. Gibson, I think it was the BG model, the banjo guitar model. It had a huge head, very mellow sound. Norman Blake has one. He'll play it every now and then. Um, People either played a six-string banjo or they played a tenor banjo, which is essentially a mandolin with a banjo head, just tuned down one octave, unless you're Irish, and then you play it the same as you would a mandolin. We'll get into that sometimes. I have a gorgeous, I'm going to show it to you now. Hold on. I have a gorgeous tenor banjo. This was made by Epiphone in about 1920. It was not their most expensive brand. This was actually one, what's it called? It's the Bruno Glee Club. This was made more for college students that were getting into Dixieland music. It's a pure Epiphone. Mahogany neck, rosewood fretboard, all bell brass, loud. This thing is so loud. I will, if I record, and I will record some tunes on this at some point. I'll have to turn the microphone off and just go with the, built-in microphone on the camera because it'll blow it away. I mean, this thing is it's a cannon. I mean, and it's totally out of tune right now, so I can't even show you, but I mean, it is so loud. And when you're playing it, I mean, things will start shaking on the tabletops. I mean, it's amazing. And I love these Epiphones if you can find one, and that's what reminded me of it. The Washburn does a six-string banjo that is modeled after these Epiphones. It has a dual truss rod inside. So you actually have a truss rod that keeps the neck straight, and then you have one that will adjust the action up and down. So, I mean, you can play it with as low an action as a really nice jazz guitar. They're just incredible instruments. Got a nice resonator on the back. We have bird's eye maple. Yeah, I love this thing. It's got the false mother of pearl. I mean, this is just pure 1920s. Got the old friction tuners on it and everything. Man, I mean, you could sit in with a Dixieland band with the horns just blaring, and this would cut through. You could hear it across the street. I am not kidding you. So, I think everyone should play at least two instruments. If you're a guitar player, definitely look into a tenor banjo or a guitar banjo. And listen to guys like Papa Charlie Jackson and Johnny St. Cyr, because they were some of the greatest musicians of all time. Of all time. They were both Creoles, by the way. And we owe to the Creole culture jazz music. Ken Burns tried to make it all about black culture. It actually more comes from the Creole mixing with black and white cultures. And Ken Burns seems to have an issue against Creoles. I don't get that. I'm part Creole myself. Yeah, white. Johnny St. Cyr was black. Papa Charlie Jackson was black. We were all Creoles. Ken Burns really disrespected Creole culture in his documentary series, but you don't have to. Yeah, you can enjoy Creole culture, and let me tell you, we cook good. We cook real good. So go shake that thing, and I'll talk to you next time.